All right. Once again, take your time out, like the video, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at T Street Controversy and Big J at Old Make Big J. But on to another topic, a fight that we covered a press conference for not long ago. What was it? Actually, it was about, it was back in June, and I'm looking at the date. You had a press conference between number one ranked WBO 140-pound contender Liam Paro and, I guess you can say, a blown up. What would you say Brock Jarvis is? Like, yeah, like his natural division. Basically, they had a press conference, and me and Big J was talking about, especially Big J, about how it seemed like it was rushed and put together. And, it was no date, no venue. And it's supposed to be what we did know at the time, Sky Nicholson and Dempsey McKean on the card, no opponents. But it's going to be taking place on the zone, and it was being billed for taking place in September. Well, now some news, although not official, has come out, and it's been confirmed pretty much by media sources or media outlets that Liam Paro versus Brock Jarvis is going to be a 10-round super lightweight bout on Saturday, October the 15th, in the South Bank Piazza in South Brisbane, Australia. It's a Matchroom Boxing card broadcast on the zone all around the world, the streaming platform. So the problem is that the very next day, and it's going to be an afternoon card, you're going to have the officially announced fight between Devin Haney and George Kambosos 2, which is undisputed. So there's going to be a huge split of media, because basically describe how far are these venues away from each other, or these locations?
Oh, shit. At least 1,000 miles. I'll put it in American terms. Melbourne and Brisbane are on the East Coast. Melbourne is the capital city of Victoria, the most southern state on the mainland. Brisbane is the capital of Queensland, the most northern state on the eastern part of the mainland.
So basically, it could be like between like New York and Florida.
Oh, easy. No, not that. No, wouldn't say that far. But yeah, probably. Yeah. It's a good 1,000. It's a good 1,000 miles, about 1,600 km. So a good 1,000 miles. Easy. Because Melbourne's right at the bottom of the mainland, right on the east coast, and Brisbane's about maybe a third of the way down.
But either way, it would be, if we're talking about here in the States, it would be states to cross.
Oh, fuck yeah, easy. Well, you gotta go through New South Wales from Brisbane to get to Melbourne, and New South Wales is what? How big is that? About the fourth biggest state. New South Wales is probably about the size of Texas, probably even bigger than Texas. So
what were they? So I'm trying to figure out, like, what was the thought process and logic of, competing with such, a big card like what Haney and Kambosos is supposed to be,
That's me.
And it's looking like, to me, from the outside looking in, is that maybe they were, they had to get something secure in October, and maybe they knew, no later than October, and maybe, they knew that they were facing some opposition, from trying to establish themselves in the country from main event, that basically they were frozen into this position, because it was supposed to be in September, and then it was pretty much, and the running date was supposed to be around September the 24th or so, from my understanding. And then now they pretty much got pushed, and now they got pushed a whole 3 weeks back. So when it comes to fighters in training camps, you can't do that, but also the networks and, maybe the venues, maybe they couldn't get a venue.
I heard that. I heard that Eddie initially couldn't get a venue. It's only speculation here, but I believe that No Limit chased them off out of Brisbane because they slapped Paul Gallen versus Justin Hodges and Ben Hannett together on the 15th, which is on a Thursday, which makes no sense. Main event cards are normally on a Wednesday. And they've also, No Limit secured the rights to Sam Eddington, Dennis Hogan on October 8th, which is another Saturday night fight. Pretty sure that's going to be in Brisbane. and there's also the football to compete with, and you do not go up against the football at finals time. No one will watch a fight. No one will care. So they pushed it back till mid-October, which makes sense. But then they're going up against Haney Kambosos the night before. Why don't they just push it back to the 22nd?
Mm-hmm.
There'll be bugger all going on in Brisbane around that date. I can assure you.
Yeah, but maybe but it'll I'm guessing logistically it's not that easy. For them to, maybe they just couldn't do it. I don't know why, but it seems like an act of desperation, kind of like the fact that the way the first press conference was put together with no information.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, my question is, and you won't be able to answer this, but is Eddie sending out all of his own press? Because he's not going to get the Australian media to do it, because they're going to be all down here in Australia. I mean, you can split the audience. You can't split the media.
You can't. No, you
because
cannot.
All the major media for Australian boxing lives in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney is halfway between Brisbane and Melbourne. So all these people, these media outlets, all the major players, the mainstream media, are all going to go,
are going to be are going to be at Haney Kambosos.
Even though there's plenty of mainstream media in Brisbane, I don't see how you can't get person one, in two different places at the same time. It's not going to happen. I mean, it would be feasible for some people to fly to Brisbane and fly to Melbourne the next morning, and get the 6 o'clock flight from Brisbane to Melbourne, get to the arena just in time for Haney Kambosos 2 to kick off. But splitting the media is not a very good idea. I mean, I don't know who's advising Eddie to say that date was a good date, but it's not. And for a fight that, as I said, in my opinion, is completely unnecessary at this stage.
Yeah,
it's going to be a hard sell, because even internationally, I mean, people in the UK, I don't think anyone would know who Liam Paro or Brock Jarvis are.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Well, I don't think Brock's certainly never fought in the UK. I don't think Liam has either. Actually, I don't think either of them have. So,
yeah, look, I have his box record up. Here's Liam Paro. He's 22-0 with 13 KOs, 26 years old. Looking at his resume, I'm going to be honest, I don't know who any of these, fighters are, but nonetheless, he is ranked #1 by the WBO at 140. You have Brock Jarvis, who's 20-0 with 18 KOs, 24 years old, listed at 5'9". The key thing that me and Big J have talked about numerous times when it comes to Brock Jarvis back, this fight is taking place at 140. But just as early as 2018, he was fighting at 118, then 122. Then in 2020, he was 125, 2021, 129, and then 2021, 135. And now he's at 140. That's a big jump, and, like quickly for a fighter. It's almost like, is he being allowed to grow into these divisions? Because the, power, I have concerns. And then you talked about how, that fight here in the States, he almost got his head knocked off. Yeah,
as I said, it's not just the power, whether he can take, it's also the punch resistance, because he's going to have a naturally bigger fighter or heavier fighter, more powerful fighter hitting him. And he can barely handle a Mexican at 135.
Yeah.
Imagine what bloody Liam's going to do to him.
And Liam is as high as 149.
Yeah, but having said that, sorry to cut you off, but having said that, Liam did get knocked on his ass in that last fight against was it a Cuban bloke or a Puerto Rican?
I think it was Puerto Rican guy, Yomar Alamo.
Yeah, a Puerto Rican bloke. Yeah, knocked him on his ass in the first round. So, yeah, I mean, I like both fighters. Both blokes are great fighters, and it's going to be a good fight. But for me, it's just like, it's the biggest head scratcher. I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's... I hate to say, but I think this is going to bomb hard.
Yeah, and nobody.
I don't want that. I don't want that for these guys, because they deserve a big show where everyone shows up and they get the notoriety and the international exposure and all that sort of stuff that they deserve.
And nothing's official yet, by the way. We don't have an official press release for the date or the venue, or the undercard has not been announced. So I mean, I'm expecting if they're going for October the 15th, we're going to be hearing something about that in the next couple of weeks for sure.
Well, for sure. I mean, they announced Haney Kambosos the other day. Well, I know I was there. So, but yeah, I mean, I really want this to succeed for these blokes, not just them. You know, Sky and Dempsey will probably be on the card. Speaking of Sky, happy birthday. She turns 27 today, so many happy returns to her. But, you know, I don't want it to bomb. I don't want it to bomb hard because, you know, these fighters,
it's not about
Aussie fighters really need.
But it's just going to bomb because of, you know, it's the wrong date and the wrong, you know, it's the wrong date.
It's the wrong date. There's nothing wrong with the fighters. I mean, as I said, Liam versus Brock is a head scratcher. It's completely unnecessary. They're both good fighters. I mean, you know, Dempsey needs to really have a good fight, you know, to showcase his skills. So does Sky, but you're going up against Kambosos Haney too.
Yeah.
I don't see the justification for it. I mean, if I could logistically do it, I'd probably fly to Brisbane the Saturday and then fly back the first thing Sunday morning to get the Haynes Kambosos.
But that's way too much, you know, for any media member to do.
Well, shit happens. I mean, I did a lot worse when I was in the army. So yeah, but, you know, I mean, logistically, that would be a pain in the ass anyway, because if something goes wrong with the flight, you're stuck in Brisbane. So that's a risky thing to do. So,
all right. Another fight that was recently announced for November the 12th, and it was just announced about a week ago that he had signed a deal with Matchroom Boxing, and I was thinking to myself, like, what? Like, where did that come from? Stevie Spark, 15-2 with 14 KOs, 25 years old. Most notable fight for you know, hardcore fans is he fought Tim Tszyu as a late replacement. That was a late replacement for Zerafa, right?
Correct.
Yeah, late replacement for Mick Zerafa. His last fight was against a Filipino fighter who not a Filipino. Is this a Thai fighter? A Thai fighter who I swore I saw before. Yes, he beat Thai fighter Apanin Chongsong via second round stoppage. And no, wait, excuse me. No, he lost to him. No, he beat him third round stoppage. But Chongsong is known for fighting Josh Taylor and being stopped in one. So I saw him before. But Stevie Spark is now signed with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing, and you would have to think it's because, you know, he wants to build up that the zone Matchroom stable. But he's fighting a fighter by the name of Montana Love, 18-0-1 with 9 KOs, 27 years old. He really first came on the scene to me when he was in that potential, you know, if you were to do a top 10 fight to the year, it would be like number 10, you know, back in 2021 when he fought Ivan Barancak and ended up stopping him in 7 on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley 2. Tyron Woodley 2. So, since then, he's won 2 straight fights, one again with a third round stoppage of a Carlos Diaz in Vegas, and then another one in the T-Mobile Arena on the undercard of his last fight was on the undercard of Canelo versus Bivol against a Gabriel Venezuela, where he didn't look good at all. So I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that Stevie Sparks is going to win, but there's still a question mark around Montana Love about how good he can be. And I'm wondering, you know, will Stevie Spark be that guy to kind of, you know, like test it a little bit? The fight's going to be taking place in Cleveland, Ohio, here in the States on the Zone. And of course, you guys are going to be getting it on the Zone Australia over there as well. But what have you got to learn about the fight so far?
It's exactly what you just said.
It just came out of nowhere to me.
Yeah, but is Stevie Spark, is he associated with Angelo DiCarlo in any way, shape or form? Because if he is, that makes perfect sense of why he's signed with the Zone. Can you look that up, please? See if Angelo DiCarlo is his manager or something.
So far, I have nothing coming up on Google because I was just actually something from Facebook. His name is mentioned. He's mentioned in the article with him, so maybe he's with him in some type of way.
That would make sense because Angelo DiCarlo is the from Ace Boxing Group is the promoter of Dempsey, Liam, Jacob, NG, all those, and a couple of other fighters. So that makes perfect sense. Okay. But, I mean, if Eddie wants to give Australia a good fight to kick things off, look no further than the Liam Paro versus Spark. That's a lot better fight.
Yeah.
At 140. And Australia there's been a lot of people going, yeah, we want to see this fight. Because when Brock was first announced to fight Liam, a lot of people were going, why not Stevie Spark? He's actually a 140. So, yeah, I think that fight would work a lot better. But, you know, Stevie's got a fight, so he gets a chance to showcase his skills overseas, so why not? So.
Yeah, I'm interested in what the undercard's going to be. I mean, obviously, it's an American card. And the zone has been having issues over here in the States putting on quality cards because let's face it, over here in the States, no one really cares about this fight, and it kind of came out of nowhere to where fans are like, what, really? Like, where the hell did this come from? But for the hardcore international fans, we do know that he was in there, and he's got some heart. He was in there with Tim Tszyu and tried to give it his all, being the smaller fighter on late step-in notice.
Yeah, well, Eddie would be better even having that fight in Australia. Would do better here, trust me. So Stevie Sparks got a lot of fans. He's better off, and he gained a lot of respect from taking Tszyu on at such short notice. That would be a fight that would be better in Australia. Trust me. Look. So, but anyway, just my opinion. Just my opinion.
Yeah, well, we're going to be paying attention, more attention to that fight as we get closer to it. It's going to be taking place on November the 12th in Cleveland. So we got some time for that. But on to the next topic, the biggest topic actually of the video is the recap and talking about Haney Kambosos too. You got a chance to talk to George Kambosos. In fact, I'm going to pull that up right now. And frankly, I was talking about it in my video when I did cover the press conference. I don't like the body language of George, but let's go ahead and play that interview for those who didn't get a chance to see it. It's on the YouTube channel, but for those who want to listen to it in podcast format, we're going to play it for you as well. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe, and let's turn this up.
Big J, and we finally got Kambosos back on the channel, mate. Pleasure to finally meet you in person. Welcome to the channel, mate. How are you?
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to meet you, and I'm doing well. I'm in a good space, and I'm focused on October 16th. I look forward to doing my talking in the ring on October 16th.
Oh, I was actually humbled you listening to the channel, mate. I thought, no,
yes.
This is me.
Yeah, look, I'm a student of the game, so I'm always actually not as of late, to be honest. I've put aside all the. There's a lot of things. Yeah. There's a lot of distractions when you start looking online. There's a lot of bitterness, a lot of bad people. So, I'm not saying you guys are bitter or bad, but
we're not
just
bitter.
In a whole aspect, I've kind of stood away from all that. And just enjoyed, the time with my kids and family.
I've defended you, mate. When T Street
but obviously you guys, showed a lot of support and love, and I have obviously listened to you guys in the past. So of course I remembered, and I appreciate the support.
Yeah, mate, we appreciate you supporting us. So, mate, let's get down to it. So the rematch, it's on Rod Laver Arena, fantastic arena. I don't think there's been a big fight here since Jeff Harding, Dennis Andrews #2.
Yes.
Way back in 1990, I think it was. Before you were even born?
Yes, correct. Yeah. 93, I'm born, so it's great to be back in this beautiful city in Melbourne, and this is a great stadium, arena, very different to Marvel Stadium. This is going to be a coliseum. You're going to hear everything, and the crowd is going to be behind it 100%.
100%. So you're feeling good, you're feeling strong, you're feeling confident that you can change your game plan, because we all know it didn't go the right way in the first fight. What's going to be different? Are you going back to just... You're going to risk taking a few jabs to smack him, like you did against Lopez?
Yeah, look, out of reach, out of sight, I'm back in a position which is very familiar to myself, and I'll do my talking October 16th in the ring. What I have to do and what changes I've made, it's already in the process and have been made, and I'm sure he's going to come with a different approach as well, or he might just try to jab and hop for the whole 36 minutes. So I'll be ready for whatever way, and full respect to Devin, but I'm coming back to get what was taken off.
Yeah, and here's an interesting stat for you, mate. Travelling champions coming to the Australia don't do very well. Notoriously, they lose.
Yes.
Because Breeders lost his IBF belt, Pacquiao lost his belt. Yeah. The two fighters, Jeff Fennick and Lester Ellis, both lost their belts.
Yeah. And I lost my belts as well. So
yeah, but you didn't travel to Australia.
Yeah, of course. But it's a good position. And like I've said, I needed this loss for a long time. I needed that refreshment. I needed to be able to see through the cut grass now, see the snakes and see the people that I need to, be away from, and just do what I do best. I'm very happy in the position I am. I got a great family. I'm very blessed, and I thank God for every day. I'm very blessed to be in this position.
Yeah, I found something interesting. The press conference, you said that if you lose, this could be it. Please don't tell us you're going to be done. after this.
I don't plan on losing, but you know, that's the reality of it. I've always been a realist. I've always been Kambosos in the big fights. Kambosos, you know, chasing the best. Now, if it doesn't come my way now in the rematch, what do I do? Come back and fight guys here?
Go to 140?
No, it's not going to work for you. No. For me, if things don't go right, which I know they will go right, but I'll be real with it. What am I going to do? Get out of bed for you know, for some domestic life for nothing?
Yeah.
I'm very blessed. I've made you know, a lot of money from this sport. I have every single belt sitting at home. So this is my focus. This is really not about, you know, the belts or the money, but this is about
well, you've always said that.
Showing. Yeah, but I believe I might have lost that in the last fight as well. So this is something different now. This is about, you know, who I am as a person, as a fighter, and as a great role model for my kids to show that even after a failure, even after a loss, you can bounce back and be victorious. And that's what I plan on doing. And I'm sure my kids, you know, my two boys and my daughter will have losses in life. But what a perfect example in many years to come to show them, look, Dad lost and he bounced back. So that's what's most important.
Yeah, well, obviously, mate, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you October 16th. We'll catch up with you again. This has been the old mate Big J for Fight View 360.
So I'm going to go ahead and say Big J had talked to George after the press conference. It was this past Monday night, my time, the 22nd. It's the 27th right now. And, you know, as I've talked about in my video, I didn't like the body language. You know, that was just, you know, like me thinking like, okay, you know, he's talking about, like, you know, the way he was talking was like he's, you know, like, for one, I can understand what he's saying. He doesn't want to fight domestic level. But it just seems as though like he's kind of here like for the check, you know, and he doesn't, you know, like it just, I just don't like the energy. Now, they're going to be fighting on October the 16th. It's going to basically be the same thing as if it would be an evening regular ESPN card here in the States, but a main event boxing pay-per-view midday afternoon card over in Australia. It's going to be in the Rod Lever. What's it? Is it arena or hold on? Let me make sure I pull it up.
It's where they play the tennis.
Yeah, it's an arena. It's not a state. The Rod Lever Arena, and it's going to be a more intimate setting. And you said about how many will they seat for the fight?
14,200.
Yeah, there you go. 14,200. You know, coming down from, you know, the 40, you know, 2,000 or so from the first fight, and then also because the way the first fight went, where it was pretty much domination off of a jab. Of course, the buzz, you know, is going to be down for this fight, and fans have openly talked about like, you know, what's the point of this fight? And George seems to understand that. So now the question is, you know, what can George do differently in the rematch?
A lot. First of all, where the fuck did I say he was going to knock him out in 9 rounds? Where did you pull that bullshit from? You said that in the last video that he's going to gut punch him and knock him out. I never said that. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, I was saying from the I got the fights confused. You were saying that for the remind
first
me again.
Fight.
Yeah, for the first fight.
I said in the first fight that George would probably knock him on his ass and knock him out in 9 rounds. Obviously, that didn't happen. For this fight, I'm going to go on the record and say if George doesn't change his game, Haney's just going to jab his face off again, right? It's going to be in a more intimate setting, which will work in the favour of George because the crowd, especially those Greek fans, they are pretty bloody boisterous, those fellas, right? That'll work to his advantage. As I said, George has to completely change his game, go back to the ferocious one, walk through a few of Haney's nothing jabs because he doesn't really have the power to keep anyone off him. Walk through those nothing jabs, kick the shit out of him. It's pretty simple. So, but yeah, I mean, Haney's very slick and very quick. So, yeah, it's a fight. You're going to get risk getting hit.
Yeah.
So
we do know that you're supporting him, but do you have him winning?
If he changes his game and does what he needs to do, yes. If not, Haney's going to jab his face off again. So it's 50-50 for me.
So it's still 50-50. Well, you had George flat out winning the first fight, so this fight is 50-50.
Oh,
well, I'm going to say this. Now, we do know from what he did to Teofimo, there's some power there. And I do believe, you know, yes, he was the emperor in the first fight, and he did say it, you know, where now, you know, he's back to the ferocious one. He's got to be the pressure fighter. You know, trying to go in there and outbox Devin Haney, I was pissed. You know, fans were pissed. Nah. It's like, what are you doing? You're definitely going to lose now. You know, it's similar to Usyk Joshua, too, to where, like, we knew that Joshua couldn't go out there and box. Like, bro, that shit ain't going to work. You're going to have to eat some jabs and eat some of them straight lefts. You got to. You know, that's the way you go. You know, you're going to have to take them. You know, so go ahead.
And Joshua had success when he went to Usyk's body.
Correct.
George did the same thing.
And he wasn't doing it.
Fucking shit out of his ribs.
Now, he does have the smaller frame, and he does have the smaller, you know, the shorter reach. For example, let me just look up real quick what the reaches are on BoxRec.
I think Haney's got 2 inches on it.
Yeah, he's got 71 for Haney, excuse me. And 68 for Kambosos compared to BoxRec. Kambosos is listed at 5'9", and Devin Haney 5'8". But in my honest opinion, you know, I can't see Kambosos being a 5'9". You know, I'm like,
shit, he ain't 5'9". I stood next to him the other day. He ain't 5'9".
Yeah, so you know, he's on like a 5'7". You know, like to me, and then you know we saw the lift. You know that he was wearing with Teofimo, and I've met Teofimo. Teofimo's is 5'9". You know, so you know, one thing about, you know, playing basketball, like a lot in my earlier years, you know, like growing up, like you can kind of, you know, really gauge someone's height, especially compared to yours. You know, it's just something as basketball fans we know. But, you know, if George is going to win, I'm going with Devin Haney, especially if Devin Haney incorporates like his team has been trying to get him to do, to follow up with the right hand behind the jab. You know, he can possibly drop George, but George has got to play the pressure fighter. You know, he's got to go out there, you know, and he's got to try to, he can't go out there to try to box. He's got to go out there to try to fight and put a boot in Devin Haney's ass if he's going to win. But also, is that going to make Devin Haney better? Now, we know that Devin Haney can be rocked because the way Jorge Linares had him contemplating like the future. You know, like the legs stumbled a little bit, especially when he was walking back to the corner.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why Haney's defense is so good, because he knows if he gets hit, he's going to get fucked up because he's got a glass chin.
But we've never heard about it, though. I mean, you know, I've never heard any stories. But also, there is rumors, and I'm going to put it, you know, out there, you know, respectfully. There is rumors, you know, that, you know, like, you know, camps, not all, I'm not saying all camps, but camps do, when certain things, you know, happen, make sure that news don't get out, if you see what I'm saying, if that was the case of Devin Haney's chin. But me personally, I didn't start hearing the questionable chin stuff until Jorge Linares, and then that's when it seemed like some things started coming out. But you know, but sparring is sparring, you know, because that's when people started saying like, oh, okay, he's you know, he's got some, you know, chinks in the armor. But we also seen, you know, Floyd Mayweather get hit, you know, where Shane Mosley had cracked him, and what did Floyd do? He grabbed onto that arm and tucked his chin into like his chest as hard as he could. He would not let go. You know, and that was a smart tactic, because what did he do? You know, he didn't, like, you could not see Floyd's face. You know, he just dug down and he held onto that arm for dear life. Didn't take a knee or nothing. So we at least know that, you know, but it depends, I guess, on how you rank Jorge Linares' power. And if you're going to see that maybe, you know, can George do something like that? And then maybe,
go
ahead.
Wasn't Jorge Linares like a blown up super featherweight and a washed up one of that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but the thing is that you've got to get. The problem is that you've got to get close enough to Haney to crack him, because he's a very slick, excellent footwork fighter, and he knows his weaknesses. He's not stupid. He's a very, very smart young fella, right? He knows he's got his weaknesses, and that's why his footwork and his slickness is so good, to protect the fact that if he does get hit, he'll probably get his ass knocked out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's why these good defensive boxers are such good defensive boxers, like Roy Jones. Roy Jones was the same, excellent defense boxer, but Antonio Tarver knocked the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
So Danny Green knocked him out in one round. So, you know, that's the thing. Generally speaking, fighters with great defense, normally their chins aren't that great because they're protecting that not so great chin. So, But, yeah, I mean, George has got to get close enough to crack him in the first place. And the problem is George has a 3-inch reach disadvantage, and Haney's footwork is, pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
So he proved that in the first fight. So
and George has got to be prepared to have to chase Haney around the whole night if Haney decides to make it that fight. Because let's be honest, Haney is not the type of guy that's going to be going out there to try to, really knock you out. He's going out there for the win. So, he will, he can play keep away if he wants to, but I'm really interested, but I'm really interested in what, what kind of game plan George is going to come out with, because with the way, he's been talking, and, I did wonder to myself, and I believe I did ask the question to the viewers that were watching live with the press conference, that, if they thought it was the mind games, the art of war,
Yeah, well, art of war is deception, is to throw the. And the other thing that we have to talk about is Haney could be led into a false sense of security because he beat George so easily the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that could go to. I'm not saying it will, but that could go to Haney's head and go, "How I beat this bloody Aussie fella so easy the first time? I'll do the same shit.
Yeah,
beat him again."
Yeah, that's one way.
That is a possibility, and that could be a massive disadvantage because if Haney thinks like that, right, George will belt the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So, but then again, George has got to get close enough to beat the shit out of him. But the problem with the first fight was George was waiting for that counter right and the overhand right all night. I think someone told me that Haney's team had a code word for George's overhand right.
Mm-hmm.
They kept on yelling at him all night, look out for whatever the code word was.
Okay.
Because if George hits him with that overhand right, George will knock his ass out. So, but he's got to get close enough to do it. So the Haney camp are they know what they're doing. They're extremely smart. They know, Haney's weaknesses, George's strengths, and vice versa. So to beat Haney, you basically have to just go straight after him and kick the living shit out of him, bro.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to beat a boxer is just rush him. That's how you beat a boxer. You just rush him through that opening bell and get 50 into him before the first 30 seconds is over.
Yeah.
That's the only way to really beat him is from the opening bell, is run straight up, not walk, run straight up to him and beat the shit out of him. It's the only way you can beat him.
You know what I was thinking? That off topic a little bit, because the way he's been talking, he's probably made more money in the last 3 years that Tim Z was made in his entire career. So he is financially taken care of. Rumored. We don't know, but rumored. He's made like a significant amount of money for that first fight.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. and the second fight, despite the fact that it ended up with another promoter. So, with this third fight here, and it is one was in a stadium and this one's in an arena that's expected to be, sold out. I guess I'm going to ask you before we go on to the undercard, do you think if he loses again, should he just retire, or should he, go out, in a fight, like a going away fight, I guess? Retirement type of fight.
That's going to be up to him. I mean, geez, I wish I was in his position. Not even 30, got millions and millions of dollars and could retire tomorrow and just sit back and enjoy his kids. Geez, I'd love to be in that position.
Yeah.
If I was in that position, I'd be like, fuck it, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ultimately it's up to him. If he does lose, I don't think he'll fight in Australia again, because who's he going to fight at lightweight? I mean, lightweight is a very, very weak division for Australian boxing. The only really two people who could fight is Billy Dibb and Jacob Ng. I mean, they're the really only lightweight fighters we've got at note that are world ranked at the moment.
And he's completely shot down 140.
He completely shot down 140, but that actually might work to his advantage, because if Haney pisses off to 140, there's nothing it'll go. If whoever wins gets Lomachenko. Let's say Haney wins, right? Haney wins, gets Lomachenko, right? Win or lose, right? Lomachenko will stay at 135 if he hypothetically fights Haney, and then George comes along to fight Lomachenko, which is what Bob wanted like 2 years ago before COVID started.
Like 3, right? Oh, yeah, but didn't he? Yeah. It was talked about before that, though, wasn't it?
It was talked about before COVID hit, but COVID sort of like just completely fucked it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as a hypothetical, I mean, a year or two down the track, we should see Lomachenko fight George, but by then Lomachenko will be in his mid-30s and way past it. So who knows? But yeah, I mean, Haney won't stay at 135. It's too big. He'll go to 140, and then George will, have a chance to pick up the belts again, or at least one. Mm-hmm. So that's my theory on what's going to happen. But should he retire? It's up to him. I mean, I would. I'd love to be not even 30 and have all that money. I'd be like, fuck it, I'm not getting up. So, but that's just me. I don't know. What do you think you should do?
Honestly, well, listen, with the way he's talking, I think that, see, both the divisions, though. I mean, 135 is overall, it's a deep division, especially with the potential guys coming up from 130. So he's going to have some significant fights, that he can have. But do I feel he'll be able to win a lot of those fights? I don't know, with the mindset that I feel like this, like his heart may be gone. He's got the money now. He's waking up in the silk and satin sheets. So a part of me in my gut feels like this Haney's fight is pretty much it for the ferocious one. He's going to try to be the ferocious one. The Emperor's already dead. But I'm wondering with the paydays and in the manner of the way that he lost the first fight and how he's going to look if he does lose the second fight, that it's time just to go. And then you're going to say you went out fighting 2 big significant fights.
True.
Because what's the point of coming back into the ring if you really don't got it? Like after Devin Haney, if you really don't feel like, I can compete at top level. And he's made enough money, as you talked about, to go be with his, like his kids. And as far as Devin Haney's concerned, yeah, I think that's what's next. If Devin Haney wins, he's going to go fight Lomachenko, and then he's definitely done with 140. Like, he's been wanting to be done, with 135. He's been wanting to be done for quite some time, with that division. Teofimo's already gone. Ryan Garcia's gone. Lomachenko's just right there. He's too small for 140. Some say maybe even too small.
He's too small for 135.
Yeah. So, and right now, like the division, all the guys that have been there for so long, 3 years, that have been talking all this shit to each other, hasn't fought each other except for Teofimo and George, and then George and Devin Haney. So either way, he'll always be able to say he's got that Teofimo Lopez win under his belt. So he did something right there where the mass majority outside of his hardcore supporters didn't think he was going to be able to do. So he'll always be able to have that.
Well,
and he got a stadium fight and 2 big pay-per-views, 3.
Exactly. I mean, that's
on top of the boxing world right there.
Man, I mean, that's what, top 5 all-time Australian Aussie wins. I'm not going to go through the list right now off the top of my head. Maybe even top 3. What, Jeff, Lionel, no, Jai's up there now, isn't he? Jeff, Jai, Lionel, George. That's four of all time.
Yeah, so, and he was a 4-belt. He was undisputed champion. So that may not ever happen.
Well, yeah, certainly not in lightweight division, but yeah. I mean, not for a long time. But I mean, yeah, you can't fault what George has achieved. I mean, if he does retire after this fight, go and enjoy your family. Go be a multi-millionaire. Sit back and relax. He just certainly earned it. So why the hell not?
But I want to go out. I want to see him go out there and like throw it all at Devin Haney, because going out there to try to box, it ain't gonna get it done.
Nah, he needs exactly that. Be ferocious, get in his face from the opening bell, and just take the fight to him. It's the only way he's going to win that fight. Because if Haney gets on his bike, throws out that jab, it's just going to be a repeat of the first fight.
But all right, let's talk about the undercard. So we do know that we got the Maloney brothers. There are some names circulating around, but nothing's official yet. So
Jason, I think, is the #1 contender for the Ren magazine belt, but he ain't going to get no title shot until after, in a way, Butler. So he's just going to be in a keep busy fight, and as we keep speculating, that Thai fighter bloke.
Yeah, and it makes sense because the winner of Inoue Butler is supposed to be moving up. No, especially if it's Inoue, he's moving up. So the belts will be free.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's moving up.
Oh, well, that works in Jason's favour, because is he #1 for WBC as well? I believe he is. As well as WBO.
Let me check.
As well as the ring.
Yep, he's #1. He's #1 for the WBC, #1 for the WBO. And now he is #1 ranked. He's #1 ranked for the ring.
Well, there you go. There's 3 belts.
So once Inoue moves up, he'll likely be, but we did mention this before, that he'll likely be fighting for a vacant title. So, that'll be his world title shot. And what about Andrew?
I thought Andrew was supposed to be chasing the Japanese fighter on New Year's Eve, but if he's on the card, he possibly would be fighting someone. I mean, he's still got time. He could fight on October 16th and still fight at the end of the year.
I don't think they would do that for because there's a championship fight. I don't think they would do that.
Yeah, true. No, I don't think so. But I haven't actually seen anything from socials from Andrew. Jason's been doing a couple of posts, but Andrew, nothing going on there. I mean, you think they're both top-ranked fighters that they would be on the card. I mean, obviously, we're still trying to see if Mixeraf is going to fight a screw with Falco. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities.
And then we're still trying to see what's going on with Lucas Brown, because Lucas Brown's got to pop up on one of these Australian cards before the end of the year.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's so many possibilities. There's Lucas. There's a possibility Ebony versus Shaz, we mentioned earlier in the video, if it goes to purse bid by some by some miracle. Susie versus Jamie Mitchell on the card for the WBA bantamweight. What other fight did we mention?
Mixer versus Esquiva Falco for the vacant IBF title that Golovkin would have to vacate if he once Golovkin steps into the ring against Canelo in about 3 weeks, he would have to vacate that title.
But I'm surprised he hasn't vacated it already.
But politically wise, I've seen it happen before. They'll hold on to it to a very last minute, just in case they come up with a plan or something, or something happens.
Well, it's Triple G. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. So that's
exactly. So it ain't gonna be vacated until probably like that Monday or when he steps into the ring or even on fight week, in case anything would happen, So, but so the possibilities are endless, but we haven't heard anything yet. So I'm guessing, we're going to definitely be hearing something in the next couple of weeks because we're heading in to September. But closing thoughts on Haney Kambosos?
Obviously looking forward to it. Very lucky that it's up the road. I mean, it would have been logistically, a little bit harder to go to see this fight. It was in Sydney or Brisbane, but up the road, great, love it. Obviously, hopefully George, stays quiet, doesn't do too much media that he doesn't have to, just goes away, possibly goes overseas and trains, does what he needs to do, gets the ferocious one back and comes back and, gives Haney a beat down, but he has to prove that in the ring. I'm not going to give a prediction. I'm saying 50-50. That's what I'm saying. So, that's my final thoughts on it. We're going to be looking forward to it. It's going to be excellent opportunity to actually go to Rod Laver. I've never actually been there. So, looking forward to it.
Okay, and just briefly, just some other boxing, Australian boxing topics. For those who don't know, Tim Tszyu versus Jermell Charlo for Undisputed is not supposed to be taking place until January 28th, so we don't have any updates on that. Do you? Anything? No, so far away.
No, I don't think we're going to hear anything about that until after George Haney number 2. And then main event will absolutely go to races on that and flog the absolute guts out of it until that fight happens.
Yeah, I can imagine that I'm going to have some exclusive content, father-son stuff, to really, really cram it down you guys' throats. And especially, and also, this is some new news for American fans who are interested. It's a possibility that it can be on pay-per-view here in the States. And let me tell you something. It ain't going to do well. Whatever they consider well, that's not the type of fight, it's not going to do well on pay-per-view. But it's Go ahead.
Sorry. I don't understand how a fight of that significance would not do well in the States.
Well,
Can you explain it to me? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, mostly because Charlo's reputation, Charlo's name over here is not that known. Even if he fights on Showtime, he doesn't, produce like high ratings. And then when they had the Charlo doubleheader pay-per-view, where he fought Jason Rosario and his brother fought Sergey Derevyanchenko, it's being listed or rumored as being one of the lowest grossing PBC pay-per-views ever, if not the lowest grossing.
Well,
and it might have been, and the next one after that might have been Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin, which was also on pay-per-view. But the Charlo just doesn't have the marketability, and even though Tim Tszyu is his father, still, Costa was known in the boxing community, but he wasn't pulling big-time, record-breaking, shattering numbers when he was boxing, on Showtime and whatnot. So that's what I'm saying, it's just, Charlo's name, like it's growing, but at his age, it's just not it's not a pay-per-view fight here in the States. I understand the significance of it and why they want to put it on pay-per-view, but as far as casual appeal, it's just not there. Remember, barely,
that's true.
Barely a year ago, American fans didn't know who Tim Tszyu was for real.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's different to Australia because boxing's a very niche sport in this country, and when we have a big event, we're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys
we get pay-per-views every month.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, but you guys get big, significant, undisputed fights a lot more than we do. I mean, we've only ever had, besides the two that we've got, cost you when was that, 20 years ago? Yeah. So, yeah, they're a rare treat for us in Australia. You guys get them all the time, so I understand why it's not going to be. It's very disappointing because Charlo, I mean, they haven't even put that poor bugger on pound for pound. That's bullshit.
No, he's finally on the Ring Magazine pound for pound as of today, the 27th of August, 2022.
What number?
Number 9.
Ah, fuck off. He's at least number 5.
He should have been. Yeah, he definitely should be pound for pound. But I don't get involved in them pound for pound list debates, man, because at the end of the day, everyone's gonna have their own list. But yes, I thought Jermell Charlo, especially since he beats the people that he's had contested wins, losses over. And he's beat them, he stopped them,
Yeah, he knocked them out. He just beat them. He knocked them the fuck out.
Yeah. So his undisputed run, I don't understand why he don't get. He's one of my favorite fighters, top 3 by far. So I don't understand why he doesn't get. 5. Yeah, I don't understand why he doesn't get, the respect. But hey, it is what it is. But finally. We did talk about it in the podcast. You can download it on Spotify, Apple, all the listening platforms are in the description box and the show notes. But finally, even though we may not like it, we might as well finish out the story that we've been covering with Paul Gallen versus Hodges and Haney in the same night. What the hell? You got Paul Gallen. He's going to be fighting two guys. He's going to be fighting a Justin Hodges and a Ben Haney in the same night. Now, we've already, went deep in on YouTube. I mean, on the podcast. But I still can't believe that they just put this card together. And it makes me wonder if they wanted to fill the date to keep main event. To keep Matchroom and the Zone out.
I think that's exactly what they did. Once again, that's just my opinion. We have no basis for that, but I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. Because when Eddie initially announced that fight, they said it would be in September or in Brisbane. And then No Limit comes up with their September card in Brisbane. So I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. Mm-hmm. But, the undercard's looking okay. I haven't got it in front of me.
I have it right here. Names that stick out is Joseph Goodall, Ty Telford.
Yep.
Glenn Rustin's daughter, Angel Rustin, and Harry Garside, who I'm actually the most interested in on the card.
Yeah, if you take away the Gallen fight, the bloody State of Origin fiasco, bloody silly thing they're doing, it's actually a decent. Without the Gallen fight, that would be a decent Fox Sports
prospect card.
Regular spot, regular cable. Bloody network card. So, yeah. And the only reason it's pay-per-view because it's a Paul Gallen fight.
Yeah.
So, but, if they want to do that, fine. I mean, I've already said my piece about that I think it's...
Yeah. Well, closing thoughts overall. We've already that's Australian boxing. We talked about it all. And we're just waiting to hear what's going to happen. And we know he's still healing up. Even though from the last images I've seen on social media, he's got the braces off, but still, you can't just, bone just doesn't heal, in just a few weeks or a couple of months. So we haven't heard anything on new cruiserweight champion Jai Opetaia, but as soon as we do hear something, we'll definitely be reporting on that. Anything else we miss?
Jai Opetaia, he was at the Hall of Fame induction for Sharon Amos, who's a former WBC featherweight champion, a women's champion. He was there last night with Susie Ramadan and a few other legends. He looked all right in the photos. His braces are off, so his recovery must be going pretty well. I've seen things on him on social media actually talking. So his recovery must be going a bit better than what we first thought. I mean, how long ago was that fight? That wasn't even 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months.
That was July 2nd.
Nearly 2 months ago.
I'm looking forward. Yeah, but I don't think he'll be back until probably February of next year. I mean, he might come back earlier, but I hope he doesn't. I think he needs time to heal up properly.
I'm still thinking about like May or so. I'm still thinking it's going to be a little longer than that. May at the earliest.
Yeah, well, hopefully, but hopefully I'll try and play out the feelers and see. He might be at possibly at Kambosos Haney too. So if he's there, I'll get an interview with him. So
yeah, you would imagine he would be. But all right, you wanted to give a shout out.
Yes, I need to give a shout out to WWE Hall of Famer Sergeant Slaughter. It's his birthday today. I believe he's 74. Could be wrong. 73, 74. He follows me on Twitter. Would you believe? After I made a comment about Hulk Hogan being the greatest of all time. So happy birthday, Sergeant. Appreciate your support. Actually, thank you to everyone that supports me. It's actually nice when I walk up to these people I meet and they're like, oh, yeah, you're that Big J bloke. Yeah. So, and they actually know who I am. Well, it's bloody obvious because I wear the hat that says old mate Big J on, so it's pretty easy. But I appreciate all the support. We're getting our followings becoming bigger. We're becoming stronger. We're becoming more well-known in Australia. And it's because of each and every one person that listens to this. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. You can follow Old Mate Big J. Or you can follow Big J at Old Mate Big J on Twitter, and me at T Street Controversy. We're going to be producing at least one Australian boxing breakdown a month. And then, of course, if there's any other big boxing news, you can actually check out our YouTube channel and the podcast, the Fight View 360 Boxing Podcast, for all of your Australian boxing news. As you know, we do take pride in making sure we keep up with all of the relevant topics. And so far, as Australian boxing's growing, I'm very happy in the support that we have and the following that we're growing, also growing the sport. So see you guys later. Thanks for listening or watching if you are. And thanks for watching.